Okay, thanks, Kanan. I think the energy that you bring to the room, I hope it's infectious to all of us. Okay, I want to start first to thank all my panelists for them taking the time and being with us. Before I start the panel discussion and I get across to all the panelists, I'll just set a quick preamble. Right? In the morning, we had business leaders, CEOs of leading insurance organizations talk to us about how they are making a tweak to their business models to increase insurance penetration. The focus of our discussion here today will be more about how insurers are gaining competitive edge in the market by doing three things. I think data-led innovations across the entire value chain, increased focus on customer experience, and harnessing data to make sure you have enough insights to create personalized experiences and offerings. So I'll go across to Suhail. First question is to you. I think during COVID, we saw a huge exponential increase in the digital transactions. The number of claims exponentially went up, right? At the same time, we saw that the new business premium actually took a dip in the first 6 months. It was down by 32%. And then within span of 12 months odd, it has gone up by 70% again. Has the customer behavior really changed during this pandemic and after that? Is the regulator looking at risk and use of data in a different fashion? And do you really think we need to look at the balance between customer experience and risk? We all know we are in the business of risk, but at the same time, we also have to be cognizant about customer convenience. So do we need to look at all these factors post-pandemic? Your views, please.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for having me here. So, as you said, I would like to answer this question in probably three cohorts. One is basically which is about selling, and which is about the whole onboarding piece. So typically, we saw the digital transactions did increase. We saw a massive increase during the COVID, although it's come down a little, but still far higher than what it was earlier. So some of our research shows that more than 20% of our journeys even in e-com are pure digital end-to-end. Now, what's also happening is that, like this is the same with the banks, probably there's a more than 50-55% increase in number of FDs which are now becoming digital, people online FDs. Now that is also having an impact on insurance companies who have very similar products, which are also now getting more and more traction on the digital channels. Other big change also is a lot of people now are what we call research online, buy offline. I think that's becoming one very, very large play. We also see now when you come to B2B selling, which was traditionally selling through bank partnerships, there is also a major change. As the footfall in the branches and the banks have changed, both during COVID and even post-COVID, the alternate channels have come into picture. Today, most insurers are looking at channels like telesales within the bank, direct to D2C journeys within banks. Even those journeys are increasing in terms of how you are selling insurance. The third big change is also on the behavior of the traditional sellers, the agents. Earlier, their whole way of putting the trust was with actually meeting the customer face to face. Now we're realizing, especially COVID was, the necessity, as they say, the mother of invention. We were able to see many people, trying to use techniques like co-browsing, remote, doing a remote call and trying to sell a product. It is still nascent. We also saw a lot of agents, a lot of sellers creating a digital identity of their own. We had companies helping create agents, micro sites. But that's the way to build trust in this business. When you come to servicing, I think that's a big, big change. Most of the leading insurers will have probably 80% of the entire transactions, which are digital in nature in terms of post-buying transactions. We are also seeing new payment methods, the things like UPI, many other payment methods for renewal payments are also increasing. Finally, when it comes to your thing about how do you use balance risk, I think especially coming from life insurance, you are actually underwriting somebody for his entire life. It is not a matter of 1 or 2 years. Yeah. And therefore, and unlike many other areas, the premium doesn't change. You only underwrite the person once. So therefore, there's a fine balance. We have seen certain changes that in certain areas through insurers, some of the the areas which they were earlier allowing, like able to do video MERs and other things, those have changed to more medical testing. But on a lot of other sides, a lot of companies today are using things like video verification, and even a lot of cases like we ask for digital certificates, which are living certificates, which is now a digital video. So more and more companies are trying to balance risk without having to inconvenience customers. And the last part of your question was about the reinsurer. Sorry, about the regulator. So luckily, we now have a regulator who's very, very pro digitization. We are seeing multiple initiatives. First, like we used to have IAB, which was a Bureau of Financial Information across. Now that's becoming larger, more bigger play. There is a mandate to convert all the insurance policy historically also electronic format, which starts better ability to exchange data, obviously with customers' consent. And finally, there are things like BIMA-SIGIM, which allows you, a customer, to be able to holistically compare policies and products across areas. So if I say both customers, sellers, as well as regulator, everybody is becoming pro-digitization post-COVID.
Thanks, Suhail. I think that was really comprehensive, right? The whole aspect about risk, regulators, and the whole front end, right? The whole aspect of customer behavior changing during COVID. And you also touched upon a very important aspect of insurance, right? Which is the whole aspect of operations. And we all know insurance has traditionally been and still continues to be very heavy on the human side, right? The amount of human capital that you deploy in the mid office and the back office continues to be extremely big, right? And this question is to you, Goutam. I'll come to you on this. We've talked about making innovation on the business models, right? Which would eventually mean also tweaking the way the operations are run, right? How do you really bring in cost efficiencies and business agility, right? And what are the trends that we are seeing in this space? I think, Goutam, if you can share with us your own experience also where you've actually gone ahead and actually revamped your entire core policy admin system. We know a lot of general insurance companies have been doing it, but not a lot of life insurance companies have actually ventured in that direction yet. So whereas you've gone on that journey, so it will be really interesting for us to hear from you as to how you've gone on that journey and how you are really bringing in more efficiency and agility in the operations.
Yep, it's working. And good afternoon to all of you. The question has got a couple of dimensions. Let me first start with one that I love very much is the program of transforming our policy admin system. We do have 2023 life insurance players in India. What we believe in is when you're trying to transform, it has to start from the core. Else it would be very expensive one. It would be very it would be an activity which will create lots of heat in the system in terms of what business wants and what technology is driving and what channel is actually finally delivering to the customer. So we started that program and happy to say that it's now out of the tunnel and it's not over. It would take some more time to cover the whole journey. What it gives to us in terms of transformation is, let me come back to it. Today we do have ability to connect with any partner probably in the shortest span of time. That enables a business interaction to happen almost in 7 days, 10 days, which means we are saving at least 4 to 6 weeks from an Indian standard point of view. Or if I look into another dimension of releasing another product, which is almost same to the last product, but having a small little nuances. Current industry standard, maybe it is 3 months to 2.5 months, even if you go for a use and file. This kind of a platform would help us to probably do it in 7 days, maybe less. So that's the transformation it enables us. How far can we actually take benefit of it depends on many other things. It's not only technology that runs the whole thing. There are distribution, there are products, there are operations, then there are some other legal areas that we have to be very, very clear about. Overall, To my mind, this last 24 months have given us a couple of very important learning. One is to the core, that every channel, regardless of whatever the nature of the channel, can be digitized. And they can actually find a way to do 100% of their business in a digital fashion without getting into a paper and all. So what Suhail also talked about, that even the medical can happen on video medical. Documents had been always digitized on the very first touch point. And other underwriting options also, medical as well as financial underwriting also can be digitized. That's one. Second, life insurance is always a very high engaging activity. So you actually sit across to discuss and probably then decide upon the cash flow and return and all of that. How digitization helps on that, we have seen it. You have heard him also talking about it, and we have seen that that's also can be digitized and trust and transparency can remain as is. Third is life insurance can generate profit. So we also saw that coming up in a very trying time. All channels, many of the organizations now becoming far better in terms of their business management while they are doing transformation. It is always believed that transformation draws cash, hence profitability gets a little bit of hit. But we saw a little bit different viewpoint coming up in last 12 months. So these are the 2 or 3 points that comes to me.
Thanks, Goutam. No, I think it's pretty interesting to understand the kind of challenges that as manufacturers, right, in that sense that you face in terms of balancing profitability, looking at customer convenience, right? But a lot of that business happens through intermediaries, right? And that's where, Sachin, you come in. And this question is to you actually, right? We've been seeing insurers really gaining competitive edge against each other more from a product or an offering perspective till date, right? But I'm sure not too far in future we will see them actually providing access to their clients on the aspect of prevention and assessment services, right? So it's more going to be around how do you offer a right product to a right customer at the right time, right? What would be your recommendation, Sachin, towards building a cohesive digital ecosystem, right? Which would enable making available innovative products and offerings, right? Which would be much more personalized as an experience for the customers. And how do you will be playing that role as an intermediary, right? Representing the manufacturers here from an ecosystem perspective.
Sure, Rajan. Thank you. So let me first define from my thought process that the whole ecosystem of insurance is all about, it's all about coverage of the insurance. It's all about experience of the claims. And obviously it comes at a cost, right? So 3C of insurance, which I believe is the core of the whole ecosystem of insurance. Now, as I think you rightly mentioned, the point of that there have been a lot of product differentiation created by insurers. And again, I would like to tell audience that India actually is a very nascent stage of insurance penetration. I think all of us know the numbers. It's about 4% in life, 1% in general. And the number of insurance companies also, while it may look like to us with so much of brand building, advertising and communication happening that, we have too many companies. But let me tell you, the story is just unfolding. In fact, any of the, the mature markets, the number of companies can go into hundreds. And right now we have only about 58 companies in total. And maybe another 12 to 15 are waiting to get licenses. So you will see the number of companies coming a lot more. So I think, Rajan, the question which you asked is obviously the differentiation of products was the early journey, which many companies have been able to master it. They are able to basically look at the segment they are addressing, and they are able to basically differentiate based on the product, and they look at the channels which they are sort of going through for acquiring that customer. But as we are going to have a lot more entry of the new players in the market, I think the game is going to be defined by what kind of ecosystem you build, right? And that's where we are talking about. It's not about just that, you have a product you sell at a price and you just give a claims experience. It's also about getting customer mindshare over a period of time. And some of the preventive products or some of the products which of late have been launched in the market with support from regulator, whether it is If you look at motor insurance, I mean, you know, pay how you use, pay how much you use. In the health and wellness, most of the health insurance companies are looking at that. How do they make people fitter? How do they have less of claims coming? Because it's not about the game of only charging a premium, looking at a loss ratio, looking at underwriting, looking at data, and then deciding that, you know, whether I'm going to make money or lose money. It's also about that if I want to have a long-term affinity with the customer, which has an option of portability, how do I make that customer's life more, you know, the customer more healthy? And for that, insurance companies are willing to go out of the way to basically give them incentivizations, give them kind of tools, give them kind of sort of communications, nudging, etc. Right? So I think in insurance industry, we are entering in an era which is not about just a relationship of a product with intermediary and with the customer. I think it's the whole ecosystem which is going to work together now. And obviously, it will take some time because not that every product will go through that journey. But definitely, I see that at least the health side and the motor side, this has already started. I'm sure on the life side also, it will start very soon. And this is where I think I see the whole, the user group or the end users of the insurance or the community basically would see that insurance is not one of the things which you remember once in a year or twice in a year, just when you pay the premium or when you have the claim. Actually, you would have insurance embedded in your life on a day-to-day basis by all these kind of sort of nudging which is going to happen and which will be obviously beneficial to everybody in the ecosystem. Thank you.
I think that brings me to Suvendu. I think the segue on the whole aspect of bringing value to the clients, right? And we all understand that next generation digital first insurance is here. It's a given, right? But the role that insurtechs and more digitally enabled companies are playing in terms of strategically using technology to kind of create competitive advantages in the market, right? Over physical processes. I think with your experience at Riskcovry, right? How are you experiencing this transition and how do you see this evolving in the future?
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I think that's a great question. The reason of our existence is what you are asking us. See, when we're talking about transition, so the transition is happening to all the players in the ecosystem. The manufacturer of the product, which is the insurance company, the distributors and consumers. So let's understand all the three sides. Like the previous panelists spoke about the transition that they're already seeing, whether it is a transformation program, process improvement, new product development, or understanding customer needs. So there will be certain things that they will have ready. There will be certain things that they will be in process. So the role that we are playing as an insurtech is to support both. So suppose you have a platform or an API that can be connected to the distributor, we can enable that. We enable that, and there are certain new products which the insurers are coming up. Probably they have the APIs in process. So we have also built a backend and all that, which can enable, even if the API doesn't exist, still that product underwriting and filtration and data collection and policy issuance can happen without the API as well. So that is more supporting the transition from the insurance company perspective. Distributors, a lot of distributors, at least post-pandemic, is surely seeing a value of building a digital platform to reach out to their customer to distribute their product more efficiently. But every distributor may not have the know exactly what is required to sell insurance digitally. So like already Mr. Suhail said that there is a lot of business that still happens where research online and buy offline. So the distributor face both kind of market and both kind of consumers coming to them. There are consumers who are completing the journeys, everything online, and there are consumers who are researching online and then completing offline. So as a distributor, they may not have the capital knowledge about how they can spend money and bring more customers to their online platform, right? So then everybody, there is a learning curve, right? That's a transition happening. So as a platform, we support both sides as an insurtech, that whether it is a full digital journey or it is it is still assistance. The interest is generated from the customer online. whereas there is a assistance goes either from the contact center or a physical person who is completing, but everything else is still digital, but there is a support that happens. So that is kind of phygital, right? So that's happened. As a consumer, now let's talk about the consumer. Even consumers are transitioning from the process of where they always were dependent of their agent, somebody close from their inner circle coming and explaining, pushing them for insurance, to now everything, whether it is a banking app, whether it is a e-commerce app, whether it is a aggregator, everyone is kind of selling insurance online. Whereas consumer may not be comfortable. Every consumer may not be comfortable buying insurance or taking that insurance decision online. So even consumers are transitioning whether they can buy completely from online, or maybe a lot of consumers, we find that they are more comfortable renewing their policies online, but purchasing a new policy, probably they go back to their agent and they have some discussions like Mr. Goutam said. So that also, because there are, depending on the nature of product and complexity and the amount of money that they are incurring as an insurance spend, so all that matters. So this is what the transition we see across the three segments, and as InsurTech, we are enabling all the three.
Oh, that's great, Suvendu, because you also answered another question which I had, which was how are the customers really evolving with the rise of digital, right? Because yes, as producers, as intermediaries, as distributors, we are doing a lot of things to intake a lot of digital journeys, right? To bring in cost efficiencies and agility. But it's also about how customers have evolved during this entire journey that we are undertaking in our organizations. I'll come to Priya now. Priya, you represent the non-life insurance, right? And very critical, the healthcare. And I mean, the whole aspect of pandemic and what all we've experienced, right, in the last 2 years. There is a lot of change which has happened in the landscape on the healthcare side, the industry that you represent, and all the adoption of health tech, right? How is that really changing the context in terms of provisioning and delivery of health insurance? And the question really is, do you believe this has made healthcare more inclusive for all of us to consume?
Sure. First and foremost, thank you, ET and IBM, and thank you, Rajan, for the question. If we were to really reflect over the last 24 months, and we got challenged in terms of how COVID upended all our beliefs, how we lived our lives, how healthcare was delivered. I represent health insurance and specifically standalone health insurance industry. And health is sold as a living benefit, correct? And you have a promise that you make to the customer, the consumer, of lifelong renewability. It's a A4 size paper. It's not a tangible product. As a health insurance company, we would like insured customers to really engage and throughout the life journey, experience the product, not in terms of claims, as Sachin was mentioning, but in terms of health and wellness, remaining fit, making it as part of our daily, need and living, condition, so to say. Now, COVID, I strongly believe there's a different, perspective. Digitization and digital disruption already existed. Unlike what most of us believe, that insurance industry, both GI, LI, as well as standalone, we all invested into digital, disruption, digital, infrastructure. But the point was, the medium that we were using was the consumer actually, on the other side, responding, being there. It's all about how do you really traverse to the path of where the consumer is engaging, whether it is sourcing, selling, product creation, servicing, paying claims, all of these, life stages and life cycles of a consumer. Is the customer being on the same medium or platform, on the same frequency that you want to service them? So with that, answering your question, we saw a huge amount of disruption in the way product factory or product creation, kind of took the loop of digitization. We came up, the health insurance, the GI space, came up with very simplified, very, easy to sell kind of product offering for different segments of consumers we've seen. And thanks to the regulator, the use in file and the entire empowerment for the insurance industry has really helped. Alongside, gone are the days when consumers were really buying health insurance as a product. Earlier we used to hear people say we are buying product or we are selling a product. Then came a space or phase where people said, I'm not selling product, I'm selling solutions. Right? And now is the phase with COVID at the backdrop and the way the awareness and the metaverse, the entire disruption and awareness where customers are buying experience. Gone are the days where you're selling insurance of any class for that matter. On that backdrop, healthcare also saw a huge amount of disruption, and kudos to the way when all of us were trying to find ways to really service and do our day-to-day job, and amidst all of that, live a safe, unimpacted life behind our home offices. Healthcare really braved, and to a large extent even health insurance, because barring the first 30 days where we couldn't understand, you could have BCPs operating in different calamities, but COVID really taught us that no BCP is going to really work. Right? And, hyperlooping that to the fact that forget about 24 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours, recovery time. It is real and now in minutes. So health insurance and healthcare, we learned the hard way. After the first 15, 20 days, by the time we could really, shake ourselves up and, believe that this is the new life. This is the way, it is a call of our duty. Because health insurance sold, unless it comes to life when it is the largest and the biggest and the highest humanism coming to life as COVID, we couldn't have really delivered better than what we did. So healthcare braved it. A lot of innovation happened on the healthcare side. A lot of innovation from a health insurance perspective. We had around 30, 40 different changes. So these changes existed, delivering, underwriting. Most of us relaxed our underwriting norms. I mean, it's important to offer insurance. Most importantly, service the customer. So we innovated in terms of the way the call center calls. Our call centers were buzzing. Is COVID claim covered? Do you do anything which can protect me? So a lot of technological innovation from that standpoint. IVR, bots. So we were there for the consumers to really answer there and take away the pain and that kind of cynicism. Second of all, telemedicine. If I were to talk about just limiting my thought around your specific question. From a health tech and digital disruption standpoint, the governance or rather the regulation did not allow telemedicine to be as one of the preferred option. In the last 2 years, that has changed, and we know how during the time where care access, unless emergency, unless major event, people wanted to really access care, whether it is stomachache, fever, headache, all the other issues within the safety of their homes. And we saw 1,900 million, consumers accessing, care through telemedicine. As insurance industry, both GI and health insurance, originally telemedicine was not part of our product, but at no extra cost, we included it. And we went to the regulator, we made representation that right now is the time to access care within, the safety of their home boundaries. Offer, telemedicine, allow us to offer telemedicine. We exclusively launched multiple helplines, including COVID and other ailments where people could access care and also take the advantage of, telemedicine. And multiple other such, innovation from a digital technology standpoint and means or ends, as they say. And I think, it really came to life to help consumers. And these trends are here to stay. We have, as human values or virtues are our nature. Some of the trends have been kind of unwinded. We've gone back to our erstwhile, ways of working. But as Suvendu was mentioning, today's world is a phygital world. And some of these digital technology disruptions, both in healthcare and health insurance, are here to remain. And ultimately speaking, it's the consumer who is driving all of these changes. It's the consumer, the power is in the hands of the consumer. And as insurers, we are continuously going to keep, churning and evolving to be in the face of the consumers and deliver the care that they need with the power in their hands. That's what I would like to say.
No, I think thanks, Priya. I think really hats off to the work that you and other healthcare insurance have done in this whole 2 years, right? Because I think we've all kind of experienced it. And more needs to be done, right? And there's a follow-on question on that of what more can be done, right? Can you just share your perspective on how maturity and penetration differs within India in different parts, right? Because we are all blessed in the way that we are all operating out of metros, but there's a significant amount of the population who are living in rural areas and cities, right? And do you believe that data mining can actually help us improve penetration? Because that's something which we are still way off, and especially in health insurance.
Sure, very interesting question. And India, as we know, every single state, every single city, so to say. I recently traveled, to a large European country, and it was as big as the size of a andheri. So we have various combinations and diverse setups across each city, each state of the country. And with that, one size fit all doesn't work. And that makes selling insurance, which is as it is, as we all know, insurance selling, because of the complexity and the rich benefit structure that insurance has to offer, is very, very complex. And 70% and upwards, 65 to 70% is advisory sales. Now, given all of that backdrop, given that even after COVID, even after understanding the value of human life, awareness and penetration remains to be a challenge. There's a huge amount of work that the regulator is driving. Each one of us as stakeholders, key stakeholders, as constituents of the industry, we are driving, but penetration remains to be abysmally small. Behind this penetration hinges the fact that is there trust? And trust comes from the fact it's a chicken and egg situation. How is insurance sold? How is insurance serviced? And how we are building that trust index with the consumer. So India as a country, where there is such a large population, such a large diversity, such a large ecosystem, so to say, which is an opportunity of the sort, that itself remains to be causing a lot of posing a lot of challenges in the it's a dichotomous situation to have. Given that maturity levels in the interiors of the country are very different compared to the prime metros and cities, and we often say this, Rajan, it's very easy to sit in your corner offices, in your AC offices, and talk about big strategies versus going to that last man on the ground and selling insurance, right? Because that's the need that you're addressing. So, there is a lot of diversity. There's a lot of difference in the way people are actually understanding the meaning of insurance. But with the backdrop of internet penetration, mobile phone availability, awareness, YouTube, and what not have you, right? So people are aware of insurance, and you will see from a health insurance category perspective, from prime metro to going to the second tier to the third tier, there is a shift that is happening. And this shift is also driven by COVID backdrop, as well as how much awareness. See, as a health insurance company, we are financing whatever healthcare spend that is happening across the country. If you look at the prime metros, the cost of real estate, the cost of care is much higher compared to the interiors. So we as insurance strategy, as health insurers, we're going to the second tier and the third tier on two counts. One, the cost of care, and second, the need for those consumers to really have awareness of buying insurance. So both of these put together, the level of maturity, the selling medium, all of that is kind of evolving. And we see huge opportunities in the interiors of the country. We see, if you look at government schemes and government telemedicine, again, I come back to that example, highest utilization happened because care availability and access is a challenge in the third tier and the second tier. So combination of all of that, we have to have micro strategies, and as Suhail was talking about micro sites for the sellers, you have to have micro selling strategies and product creation strategies for the different parts of the country, and replicate that momentum for us to really get that penetration that we are expecting.
Okay. No, that's fantastic. I think the amount of work that we've seen a lot of commerce companies doing, right, in terms of using the data to actually go and spawn in the smaller cities, right? We are really getting the benefits out of it. I think on the same analogy, if healthcare can actually follow suit and build those facilities for our population in those areas, that will be really a fantastic work for all of us.
So Rajan, if I may take like 60 seconds more, you asked me the backdrop of your question was big data, availability of data. Now, the problem is it's a holy grail. Data is the new, oil, as we all use in our parlance. But how structured is that data, and how usable that information is to create meaningful insights and create products wrapped around it is a big question. And we all are working towards it, and we are, grappling with it. But at the same time, we have seen personalization, direct to customer, a lot of innovation coming in from that aspect, marketing campaigns being launched, are not only from a selling and sourcing and product factory standpoint, but also servicing. So I want to highlight the fact, the way fraud and abuse, because health insurance, we are, it's a trust index is a challenge because there is a lot of abuse in the country. The abuse exists on the backdrop of not having a single, unified platform like any other country, EDI, electronic data interface. Now there's a lot of work that is happening, but there, from a service standpoint, a lot of data utilization, understanding, machine learning. I have so many of my colleagues in the industry who have launched multiple instant claim, authorization basis the data insights about the consumer and the demography. So that is the trend that is here to stay, and we are going to learn more, meaningful insights for us to create newer products and service categories. Thank you.
With that, I can launch the next question to you, Sachin. In fact, Priya's covered a lot of that aspects, right? Do you really believe that insurance as an industry, right, is it comparable to other industries like e-commerce or hospitality? And can you share one example where you have personally been inspired by a journey which used data as an enabler to create a customized customer experience or a personalized customer experience, or a specific product profiling which was done in that journey?
Yeah. So absolutely, I think, see, as I mentioned in my previous answer also, see, insurance is no different than anything else what we do in life. Obviously, in India, it is still being sold, it is being, transacted as if it is something very unique, very different, and because of the complexity, because of the regulatory issues and etc. Right? But as we are becoming more and more digitally integrated in the whole life cycle, or let's say day in a life kind of scenario, I think buying insurance for which we call incidental or contextual insurance, it's going to be very, very relevant. I mean, there are a lot of innovation is already happening by insurtech companies or by insurance companies or intermediaries. I'll share some examples, but basically, if you look at insurance is now becoming more sachetized, more there are various ways to create that within the regulatory framework. You could create affinity groups, you could have insurance for a particular context or a particular risk, which is very short-term sort of a risk which is there. And all of us have seen like how our cab hailing providers also have the contextual cover only for X to Y travel. In travel, we have seen a lot of innovation happening. Even in e-commerce, if you see a lot of products which you are buying today, there are a lot of insurance being bundled. While I would say sometimes I do see that they are being bundled to just create additional revenue layer for e-commerce players or retailers or insurers or intermediaries. But many a times you do see that there is a sort of benefit of that also for a consumer to buy, right? Now, coming to specific examples based on data or otherwise, if you look at FASTag, data is being used very commonly nowadays, right? I mean, almost 30% of the cars have the FASTag. Now, the original purpose of FASTag was not meant to be, doing things. It was primarily for tolls, to automate the tolls, because it used to create traffic delays. But over a period of time, if you see, the car movement is actually can be, so the issuer of the FASTag basically does get a data that, where the debit is happening. Nowadays, if you see, a lot of innovative companies are coming in the market, or even the shopping malls, they are using FASTag for your parking also, which is becoming very, very good. So effectively, one side, while I know the word of caution is that today I was being tracked through my mobile phone or my Google or etc. By the whole digital world. Now my car is also being tracked, right? So, everything is being tracked, which is one part of it. But that's the choice I have. But on the other side, if you see, let's come to motor insurance. If I give you a use case, right? It's a live use case for motor insurance company to nudge the customer about insurance, or even intermediary. Basically, if a bank is having a relationship with the customer for issuance of FASTag, and bank is also a bank customer for selling insurance, the use case can be stitched together, right? Because you know that you get data because being a FASTag customer, the ownership of a car, etc. You can do Vahan API. You can actually get the car insurance expiry date, and then you can nudge the customer. You can make offers to the customer and things like that, right? So I'm saying this is just one use case. Obviously, there are a lot of use cases like this in the health, in life, in sachet products. Obviously, the big ticket products does require a lot of illustration, a lot of explanation, a lot of fine, lines to be read. But as I think more and more insurers are coming out with standard products with less of sort of exclusions, I see a lot of journeys getting integrated into the e-commerce or retail or hospitality kind of journeys, right? But at the same time, I would say, again, word of caution is insurance is a product which has certain expectations from customers, and only the moment of truth arrives at the time of claim, right? So definitely it is a highly regulated product. So while all this fancy journeys can be created, the reality of the life is that how insurer or intermediary is going to support when the claim comes, because if that doesn't take place, then all this will fade away. Yeah, so that's what I'll just share with you. Yeah.
Thanks. I think those are two great examples, and that really brings me to Goutam, back to you, right? About customer experience, right? It's a double-edged sword, as Sachin has illustrated already, right? It's end of the day how the customer experiences your product, right? And it's all about providing those personalized experiences to clients. And I'm aware of one use case, in your case, Bajaj Allianz, right? You, I think, launched a tool called Smart Assist, right? And during COVID, you actually helped clients through that journey of buying insurance, which in some cases can be really challenging for a few of us or many of us, right? Can you just tell us, how was the tool received by your clients, and what are the challenges that you faced in terms of getting it deployed and getting the adoption up, right?
I would love to. But before that, I would also try to talk about, it is not only the cover, it is not only the cash flow, it is not only the claim or the premium amount. It is also the experience that is part of the value chain. And it is not only the how you experience the product. Product could have many facets to experience. It is also the selling process that you experience that also extremely critical. And I'm sure all of us have learned it during the COVID in a hard way or easy way. Now let me come back to Smart Assist story. Life insurance, that is what I represent, is a little lengthy selling process. It talks about premium paying term for 5 to 10 to 15 years. Lots of money that you are trying to pay for your living benefit or maybe the death benefits. Now, there is a complicated cash flow that has to also be understood by the person who is investing to it. So there are lots of complicated terms that I just have used, which means unless and until you and me sit together within a close proximity, explain everything, understand everything, question about it, I'm not probably clear about what I'm getting into. Pre-COVID, there was no problem. I would visit to your place, we would have coffee and we would probably have explained it. While in COVID, this discussion, I could still have visited your place, but I would have sat at least 6 meters, 4 meters away. Hence, there is a proximity challenge. What happens when you are in a proximity challenge, most often than not, is the transparency and the trust dips. And if you heard Priya, we are absolutely mindful to put enough attention to these two topics. Insurance is a trust business, most often than not. Hence, you got to focus on how do you retain your trust and transparency towards the brand. And that's where the app Smart Assist comes to play. Now, the peculiarities of this application is you need not to download anything, you need not to install anything. Because the moment you download, install anything, there is a concern around data privacy, data leakage, data sniffing, and all of that. So you need not to do all that. Second is when you talk about variety of customer, the form factor, OS, versions, all are way different. And third is there is a very critical awareness about not sharing some part of data without consent. So while the customer is entering, you need not to see it. That's the concern. Now, Smart Assist allows the sales manager or the agent to actually extend the screen to the customer, and the customer could be in London, could be in Canada, could be in Southeast Asia, could be one block down the where he is there, or could be across the coffee shop, and he would be able to extend the screen. And what would happen is, one is you would definitely discuss the cash flow and all of that. Also, you would be able to correct the address. Yeah, hyphen nahi hai. It is a stroke straight. Or the email address, like my name, if I ask many of you, you would spell G-A-U, but it is G-O-U. And that matters to me. And when you are entering, I would love to see it is entered correct at the first time. Those are the small nitty-gritties that got captured or addressed through this layer. And it helped us tremendously in terms of retain our and enhance our trust and transparency. And we are now using it in many other areas. Thanks for asking that question.
Thanks, Goutam. I think coming to you, Suhail, back, right? I think we started off our conversation about how are insurers really gaining competitive advantage in the market, right? And then we've spoken about various things that you all are doing, right? As manufacturers, as intermediaries, right? As healthcare providers, right? And insurtechs. To net it all down, right? I mean, do you believe that data mining per se enables insurers predominantly to help you in cross-sell, upsell, and revenue uplift? Or are there other dimensions also, right? And how is that playing out for you and Max Life?
I think that's a very nice question, because normally when we look at data mining, the first thing always is a cross-sell or upsell. I think today we've been successfully using data for multiple reasons. For example, a big area is customer servicing. I think Priya started speaking about it. Fact is that for renewal payments, if you really analyze especially your in life insurance, where people pay you premium a long time, you know who pays by which mode, you know who pays near to the date, who pays post the date, who pays pre the date. Therefore, you don't have to bombard everybody with messages at the same thing, right? You can have a very customized strategy to cohorts. This is like buying a pizza, right? Somebody wants to keep on tracking Zomato where the guy is every 2 minutes. And somebody says, don't bother me till the time my bell rings. Now, even better in COVID, don't even ring the bell, just put it outside my room and go. Now, the second part, a lot about is, we also use a lot of customer data, conversations to do speech analytics. So we are designing conversations in our contact centers between the customers and our agents. And we can then, use the machine learning behind this to see what are the non-answered questions, where the customer tone is changing. Do we need to retrain our agents with a different script because they're not able to answer the customer questions? So that is another big area. A third big area is that a lot of us are now going beyond selling, and as Sachin was saying, to engagement. So a lot of life insurance now selling as a connotation with health. And therefore, many times you have tie-ups in your products where you walk X amount of steps, you get some premium reduction, or you are a certain health. And therefore, a lot of valuable data you get about the people. And these will help you on your customers, do your risk profiling of your customers. Other area is, somebody said, Priya said, was about product development. A lot of people come into your funnel, they leave the funnel. So if you really do a funnel analysis, what sorts of, where are you losing your customers? You can actually help, in the new product creation. What are the conversations you are happening? Even in your prospecting, what kind of answers customers are asking? Two other big areas. One is NPS. A lot of us, we do transactions and get customer feedback immediately after the transaction. I think you as customers, you guys do. What are customers talking about your product? How do we have created a culture where every day, every product owner, service owner, spends an X amount of time listening to conversations or reading about the comments. And how can you get your service better? And a lot of it gets mined in terms of data to give you the top, 5 things. Lastly, as we keep on progressing on data, the other big thing is about underwriting. What data is available to you? While this is not just for the new business, even when you are looking at revivals, you're looking at many other areas. This is getting into your picture, for long-term perspective. So overall, data has a massive play, even beyond your both cross-sell and upsell. And we are realizing this, knowing the customer better and ability to service him better.
Yeah, thanks, Suhail. Yeah, I think that quite summarized a lot of our conversations, right? And my last question is to you, Suvendu, right? The whole aspect of data and building personalized offerings, right? The whole objective is to make product invisible in a sense, right? And that's where you have been working extensively at Riskcovry with a lot of embedded insurance, right? How do you believe that can really change the way insurance is perceived in India today?
Yeah, I think great question. It's definitely going to change if all of us as an industry are addressing to improve customer penetration, customer engagement for insurance, then definitely the embedded insurance will play a much bigger role. Well, first of all, embedded insurance is not presented as an insurance to the customer. So the moment we present this as an insurance, the customer starts thinking whether I need to buy, whether I need to plan, and all of those things. So embedded insurance comes in three forms. Either it is like completely embedded into the core product that you are buying. You may be buying a phone, you may be buying a credit card, you may be buying a car. Along with the product, the related insurance covers are pre-bundled, and the OEM or the core product supplier is paying the insurance and the customer is not paying. That is one form. The other form is there is a contextual insurance that gets bundled with the core product, whereas the customer is given a choice to opt in. So that we see in, especially in the travel and book my show, those kind of journeys, where customer has the option to tick and opt that insurance or not in, opt in. And the third option that we see is the opt out, where it is by default included, but if you don't want, you can come out of it, opt out of that program. But what is important is what is the contextual insurance and how do you provide it? In fact, what Suhail and everybody are saying, it is important to have that data. And when we are contextually creating an insurance, whether with the e-commerce site, whether it is with a helmet, whether it is with a mobile phone, most of the information of who's buying, what are you buying, that is already available with that product manufacturer. So if we can offer insurance without asking any question, Suvendu Prusty is interested to buy insurance. So the app, if I'm doing a transaction in any e-commerce app, and the app already knows who is Suvendu Prusty, where he lives, his name, address, email ID, nothing they ask. They just offer, if you are interested, you are buying mattresses, this is the mattress insurance. You say yes, this is the money you pay, and insurance policy is then and there. That's what when Sachin spoke, right? So then the whole dissonance around customer, like, are abhi customer form bharo, underwriting, nothing is there. So then we are utilizing the data correctly and offering a modular solution so that it is affordable and it is impulse decision. So I think our industry has drawn this inspiration from FMCG and everywhere, from the sachet products and the Cokes and everywhere else. Like consumers go to the store, they see something and they feel like buying and they take the purchase decision. Similarly, this is what we are trying to bring into the insurance industry about consuming in smaller packets. So at least the products that people don't buy, we can offer those solutions like this manner. Thank you.
Thanks, Suvendu. I think that brings us to the end of our panel discussion. I think all the panelists here, thank you so much once again. I think we've covered all the aspects. It's almost like a building of a perfect storm, right? Where even a lot of panelists spoke about how the regulator is really enabling the entire industry to move forward, right? And Priya also enlightened us about the work that they have done through the entire pandemic and beyond, right? Because healthcare continues to be a really important industry for us to help us become that much more stronger as a nation, right? So thanks once again to all my panelists. And with that, it's a wrap.